too late to stop now. Who is it published by, and where can people get a copy?
It's published by Bloomsbury, home of Harry Potter, and it'll be available in all major bookshops, as they say, Waterstones, Foyles, whatever local bookshops anybody has, and also obviously online via Amazon or Rough Trade. Rough Trade have got a load of signed copies if anybody's interested.
Oh, have they? Okay. Well, I'm going to have to buy one of these, so
Yes.
I'll just making some notes as we go through this. Are you going to go out and about in the country at all, doing any of that at all?
I started when it's turning into a bit of a short tour.
Because in Wales, of course, we got the the Hay, the book festival. They have interesting people talking about their books.
Well, if they want to invite me,
you're open to offers on that.
I have been invited to the Hahn weekend next year, which is near Swansea, which is a comedy, literature, and music festival. So that's already in the diary for next year.
You said earlier an interesting comment, which is undeniable. By the way, I should have been marking other students' work by now, but I've just been caught up on talking to you. Apologies to my students if we ever see this. But you said about what's left of the music press. Now, bearing in mind, some of these students are on journalism courses. Some of them have a love of music, and they like to write about music. Where are we at with music journalism, and is there any hope at all? Over the next sort of 5-10 years?
I've no idea where they might end up, who they might end up writing for. The music press is basically Mojo, Uncut, Record Collector, and there are smaller magazines like Shindig and Vive la Rock. But that's kind of about it. So it's websites, which apparently very rarely pay. That they think that by publishing your work online, they're enhancing your public profile as a journalist. So I don't know where that they'll end up, what opportunities will be open for them. It certainly won't be anything like the opportunities that I had to write about groups. Nobody goes on the road with bands anymore. No. The whole scene has changed so much. Some of my former colleagues on Melody Maker actually teach music journalism courses, and I wonder if they wouldn't be better employed teaching those students how to thatch a roof or something, of a cottage, for all the use that they're going to make of what they're learning, because there just aren't the outlets.
So if, the 17-year-old you or whatever, if there are 17-year-old, potential Allan Joneses who share that absolute obsession for music, realistically, I don't know where they're going to go professionally, but how would you, if you would, encourage them to, pursue the love of music and kind of express that love of music?
Well, all they can realistically do is maybe, go online with a personal blog, create a website and invite like-minded writers to contribute to it in some way. But really, I can offer no more practical advice than that.
Yeah.
I mean, the music press that I joined, has just gone. It's just not there, and nothing's replaced it. The 3 monthlies that I mentioned usually employ people who were previously contributors to that music press. You don't find a lot of young writers moving in. Maybe it's because the music they write about doesn't have much appeal for younger writers who would want to write about, I don't know, Lana Del Rey or Billie Eilish, or something even more contemporary. Their focus is pretty much retrospective, and if you're a 17-year-old writer, you probably want to be writing about what's happening now rather than what happened 50 years ago.
Two quick ones for you. Firstly, this is a classic interview question, by the way, but is there anyone you've never actually got to interview that kind of, slipped the net, you've always regretted you didn't manage to speak to?
Yeah, well, some of them were because they were dead. I mean, I would have loved to have interviewed Graham Parsons,
Of course, yeah.
and Tim Buckley.
Yeah.
Other than that, I kind of think I did everybody I would have wanted to have done. I mentioned earlier Laura Nero. Her album New Penderbury, I think, is just an incredible masterpiece, and I would have loved to have interviewed her, but that didn't happen. There are probably a few people. I always lived in fear of being offered a Dylan interview. And, as amazing as it would have been just to meet him for 5 minutes, the thought of sitting down with Bob and asking him questions was intimidating beyond belief. I used to wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, having dreamt that he had a new album out and I'd been asked if to go and interview him.
It could still happen.
I think not.
And the final thing, because I've interviewed you today, and I said at the very beginning, I honestly was totally unprepared for this, but I kind of knew you'd have plenty to say, and I could react to what you said, so I was all right. So I scribbled down a few notes at about 5 to 3, right? And it's been a fantastic interview. Would you have any? What would be? I don't know if you have any advice for people for approaching interviews, any kind of interview tips, because you've interviewed so many people.
Prepare your questions.
So
do research, if you can, and make the questions as simple as possible. Just ask the question. Don't dress it up in any particular way. Keep it simple. Just don't overcomplicate things, and be persistent. Make sure you get the answer to the question you've asked, and just stick it out. But really, know what you're talking about, and just be direct. Just be as succinct as possible. Don't let the questions ramble on, too long. I always used to, write out the list of my questions, which would help because of copy turnaround. I would already begin structuring a piece via the way that I was going to conduct the interview. So I was always as prepared as I could be, and obviously I wouldn't sit there just reading out the questions by rote. Hopefully, a conversation will develop, but they were always there as a way to navigate me through the interview.
Well, it's been a long interview. We covered loads. So once again, there'll be a new Allan Jones series coming out on Keep Cardiff Live, can I should say. And in the lead up to the book, and if there's anything, you would be useful for you in terms of promoting it or anything at all, then, just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
And would you say I should buy mine from Rough Trade? And is there a softback here, or is it just hardback at the moment?
It comes out in what's called a trade paperback, which is large format paperback. And I guess in about a year, there'll be the official paperback version, which will be just slightly smaller. And it might have a different color scheme on the cover.
Okay, well, I'll have a look around. And Allan, once again, the book Too Late to Stop Now, May the 25th, Bloomsbury Press, be available in all the bookstores. Good luck with it, and thank you ever so much for your time. It's been great to chat to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. It was great.